From the Zang Tum Tum ZTT Box Set, The Art of Noise and Moments in Love. Just a brilliant love song. And the love song, that was your, I don't know, your atmosphere or something. I don't know.
It was our very first release, so I'm very proud of that whole record.
Oh, it was the first one? Was that
Moments in Love was on an EP, but not an EP, an album, not an album, a single, not a single, because no one knew what to say with it, because the length of it was so peculiar that it led to the industry actually starting to make rules about how long a 12-inch record could be. It's one of my other proud achievements. Yeah. Because it had something like 42 minutes of music on it or something, but we sold it as if it was a single. And the industry was alarmed by this, so they started to make rules that you couldn't put more than 20 minutes of music on a 12-inch.
What a stupid rule now.
Yeah, stupid
it could
rule.
chart, it could be...
But there was other stupid rules. The Art of Noise couldn't be on television because in our videos there was no members of a group. We made them masked. And I know it sounds daft now, but at the time there was a rule that if the group wasn't in it, you couldn't get it played on the telly.
But this is not that long ago.
Well, it's 25 years. We now, it's a bit like, things have changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
But I am very proud of the fact that that was our first record, and on our first record was this track that has now become a kind of, cult classic, Moments in Love.
Like a modern classical record.
People know it really well, and eventually, Madonna got married to Sean Penn using this music, and she walked down the aisle. I was very perversely proud of that. But I'm also very, very, chuffed that it becomes talked about as one of the greatest love songs ever written.
Yeah.
And I wrote the lyrics for one of the greatest love songs
there
ever
you
written.
go.
But they're only 3 words. but that's all I needed to do, yeah.
We've been looking about the sound without getting too complicated. Somebody has probably never heard a ZTT record. What is that sound? Is it just sort of rich, lush electronic music? What is it?
It's very glamorous, it's very powerful, it's extraordinarily powerful to the extent that a lot of records made at that period, the early 80s, now sound very dated. But Trevor Horn's records, he almost anticipated how this technology would be used down the line, so they haven't dated. So there's not a lot of that tinny
horrible drum sound. Yeah.
They're lush, they're powerful, they're incredibly entertaining. They're show business.
Did he use real drum?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, on Jewel by Propaganda, which came about a year or two down the line, the original drums were actually played by Stuart Copeland. And then what you do, which now of course is the common garden occurrence, but you take a bit of the drum, take a bit of Stuart Copeland's drum, and it so Trevor was doing that very, very early on.
Right.
But it often began with a real drummer, so it still had a kind of feel, which I think is why it wasn't just a little tink, tink, tink.
Yeah.
It was a lot of power, and Copeland, obviously, a very powerful drummer.
And the process of making ZTT records, because, it was the early electronica, would take a long, long time. Trevor was very particular about certain things. He would always start working late at night, is that right?
Always
work through the night?
Always late at night, yes.
Never in the day?
Never in the day, no.
So it's always late night?
Always late nights. About 4 a.m. would come the revelation. The moment of great truth on a track, when
is that when you're at your sleepiest, probably?
Well, Trevor's best work was often done with him lying underneath a mixing desk while the work was going on
with candles on everywhere.
And you'd think that he was asleep, and suddenly the engineer would do something, and you'd hear Trevor in the middle distance going with a Mars bar running down his chin, going, "That's it!" I always remember that with Relax, that big whoosh.
Oh, that's really like a...
And in a way, that was just a sound that was just chucked in the air, and suddenly it starts to take its place in the middle of the track.
We talked about Propaganda and Jewel. This was Claudia Brucken. She's German.
They were a German band from Dusseldorf.
So that mysterious East...
I wanted it very much to be a European label. I wanted it to be a European label.
Yeah.
In the sense that a lot of things just seem to be coming from America. So I wanted the European label. I wanted the history of Europe in everything we did, because those great art movements, Dada, Surrealism. I wanted all that in there. These great things that hadn't been really tapped into by rock musicians in a way. Rock musicians are often just influenced by rock music. So I wanted a label that was influenced by literature and film and cinema, everything as well, theatre, other things to make the music richer and stranger.
Right.
And I just thought it would be fantastic.
This was a strange record, yeah.
Well, it was a strange record, but it was a pop record.
Yeah,
My biggest love, really, ultimately, is for strange pop records that get in the charts, get on top of the pops, but have a real kind of subversive strangeness about them.
Well, this is one, Propaganda and Jewel from the ZTT Box Set.